Hello students, I hope you all are fine. Today I am discussing something very important part, that's a question. Why is there a type of phrase called verb phrase when it is clearly written in the definition of phrase that does not contain a verb? When a phrase does not contain a verb, then why phrasal verb, right? So this is great question. I think the best way phrase I'm reading here, just important thing. Phrase has a basic general meaning is group of words functioning together without a verb, which is clearly the definition which defines phrase, and phrase is contrasted with the term clause and sentence because of verb and subject, and then both of which usually have verbs. So in the morning is a phrase, while eating in the morning is a clause, and I was eating breakfast in the morning is a sentence, right? More clear. However, the term phrase came to have a more specific, precise meaning when Chomsky introduced the notion of phrase structure grammar. So here Chomsky redefined the phrase. Came to have a more specific, precise meaning. So he made it clear in his work, phrase structure grammar, right? So that is name actually phrase. In this theoretical approach, everything is a phrase. What he says that is very important. Please take care. Everything is phrase. What he's saying that everything is a phrase. So a single word can be a phrase. What he's saying that everything is a phrase. A single word can be a phrase. Such as the name in the sentence, Chomsky is considered the father of. So what he's saying that the everything is a phrase. Then in fact there can even be phrases with no words in them. For example, Chomsky wanted to change linguistic analysis. There is an empty NP. Why? Because noun phrase is not clear. That phrase means group of words. So here just noun Chomsky, right? So then Chomsky wanted to change, which has the meaning of Chomsky. So that's an empty noun, and then this is the clarification. We know this is an empty noun phrase because we can contrast it with Chomsky wanted Smith to change. So wanted Smith to change linguistic analysis, in which sub NP of to change is Smith, right, is clearly expressed. So that is actually something, the analysis. So but answer is not satisfactory. Similarly, it happens in further also. Many have tried to reply, but answer justification is not clear. How we will say a verb phrase a phrase, because phrase do not contain verbs. So that's a phrase is a group of words that together communicate some kind of information, right? A phrase cannot include subject plus verb, clearly written. That's what's the a phrase. A phrase a phrase sorry a phrase cannot include subject and verb. And then verb phrase is a verb plus complement and modifiers. There can be no subject in a verb phrase. Here some examples of sentences with verb phrase. He learned to swim very fast. Verb phrase learn, that is verb, to swim very fast, right? Again contradiction. Now, how we will say a verb phrase a phrase, because phrase do not contain verbs. So a phrase is a group of words that may form different elements of a sentence. So group of words in a sentence. It may or may not contain a verb. That's a new concept. In the sentence, the man in blue failed to deliver in the first test. So the man in blue. The subject is a noun phrase that contains no verb. The man in blue contains no verb. In the sentence, the man found in blue jersey, blue jersey, failed to deliver in the first test. The subject is a noun phrase that contains a verb. The men found. So that's a verb. In the sentence, wearing the blue jersey has been my dream. The subject is a verb phrase, right? That functions as a noun. Wearing is actually infinite verb. Another example, I saw him running without shoes, right? So running without shoes is a compliment, and then this is justification which is not very much clear. Now if a phrase is a group of words without a verb, then what is the verb phrase? So that it is they are given example, and then what he is saying that there are only 3 phrases, right? And these phrases is different phrases, noun phrase, adverb phrase, right? Okay, now next question, if a phrase is a group of words without a verb, then what is verb phrase? So then they have given example, and here they have given a verb. A phrase does not have a finite verb, so here they are talking about finite or finite verb, but it could have either two infinite verb. So according to them, infinite verb or gerund or a participle means, what is the conclusion? That according to this definition, phrase does not have a finite verb, means main verb. A phrase could be either an adjective phrase or noun phrase or adverb phrase. It could be gerundial phrase, right? Okay, I'm not reading, these are the. Now next question, if a phrase is a group of words without a verb, then what is verb phrase? So according to them, phrase does not prohibit the inclusion of verb. That is new concept. Phrase does not prohibit the inclusion of verb. Now New Oxford Dictionary, American Dictionary, says that phrase is a small group of words standing together as a conceptual unit. That is somewhat justifiable because that's a conceptual unit typically forming a component of a clause. So that's a part of clause. In fact, phrasal verb are group of words that explicitly act as a single verb. So group of word which is used as a uh, which is act which acts as a single verb, right? Now getting artificially intelligent agent to understand phrasal verb was the subject. That's a he's giving example, right? Why were phrasal verb introduced into English language, and why are specific meaning of expression not used instead of phrasal verb? So here he is giving the example of, that is German and all, that is not legible to me, to all of us, because that's a history of English language, and then he has given example of German words and all, right? So that is something, another justification. Then next question is, can someone make me understand noun phrase, adverb phrase and verb phrase? So I'm just directly jump to verb phrase. What is verb phrase according to this? That's a, wait a minute, noun phrase, right? So noun phrase, here this is the noun phrase, then this the uh, noun is opposition, adjective phrase, right? Now verb phrase or verbal phrase. However, verb phrase and verbal phrase are different, but then verbal phrase, that's a verbal phrase, right? That's a verbal phrase. Are verbs clubbed with preposition? So that's a club with, in other words, phrasal verbs or groups verbs are verbal phrase. So that is phrasal verbs or group of words are verbal phrase. He refused to carry out his master's orders. here carry out, he refused to carry out, right, his master's order. So here phrasal verb and is also verbal phrase, right? So phrasal verb, he refused to carry out his master's order, right? This is the question. And here carry out is a verbal phrase verb, carry out. And that is verbal phrase also. Not very much clear, right? Then last one, two question we can take. That's a two. He explained two. I have read. So let me tell you what two. He is giving example of the same question, that there are four similar, like we use two in four similar but different ways, right? What similar in different ways? To learn, right? That is to is as infinitive. Then to learn here as finite and infinite he is talking about, right? So what he is saying, that the specific finite time, so that is different. You can read it, I'm not reading for you, but that is again not very much clear. Then to is used as a proposition, I'm going to meet to your father, this way. And then to can also be used as an adverb. And what's the adverb? That's a, she went to the lake, so that's a adverb, intransitive, because no action is done in this sentence, so that is adverb. And then is used after an intransitive verb, because went is here intransitive, ran is here intransitive, because went to where, right? So that is to point the direction, okay? And then to participle, to is also, I'm reading this one also, to can also be an adverb, that is used after intransitive verb to point in the direction of movement. She went to the lake, right? So went to the lake. They ran to school, right? So that is something. Then to can also be a particle in a phrasal verb, right? That is, particle is which is verb phrase that has a meaning very different from the verb. For example, his father was unconscious in the hospital, and when he came to, his family was very happy. So that's a phrasal verb. Came to means to wake up after being unconscious, but you cannot know its meaning if you only know the meaning of verb come and the preposition to. So you will interpret the sentence in come and to separately according to this text. Not very clear. Finally, phrasal verb does not have to have two verbs like in other languages. So that here is correct way to ask your question, why does a phrase in English have to have two verbs like it does it either language? So remember, when you use a question word like why, you have to put the auxiliary verb in front, right? That is something else. With correspondence example, what are the features of verb phrase? Here a verb phrase is phrase containing either a single word verb on its own or group of verbs which functions in the same way as a single word verb, called verbal group or systematic. So the went, will go, will have gone, must be forgotten. These are number of a verb phrase can be finite or non-finite. Again mixing, right? It's finite or non-finite. Now finite phrase, a finite verb phrase. The first word is the only word that is finite, carries tense. The last word in both finite and non-finite verb phrases is a main verb, right? So if a finite verb phrase consists of a single word, then it must be a main verb. Now again a big confusion. That carries tense, goes, went. In non-finite verb phrase, for example, eaten, to eat, have been eaten, right? All verbs, both auxiliaries and main verbs, are non-finite, right? So that's what is actually, it's not at all confused about, that's a different issue. And then if you read, here I'm winding up, but if you read that you will not get satisfied. But yes, one thing I would like to tell you that uh, what conclusion we can reach in a conclusion that the verb phrases is a phrase with a verb, with a verb and its head. This is somewhat what's the verb phrase. So here, with a verb and its head. To understand what a verb phrase is, you first need to understand what a phrase is and what a phrasal head is. It is probably easiest to look to some example. I dance. Here, verb phrase is just dance. It is a single word phrase, right? So that is there. Somewhat that is justifiable. Linguistic, a verb phrase is a syntactic unit composed of at least one verb. Now here, that's according to this definition. According to this definition, this is very important. In linguistic, verb phrase is a syntactic unit. Syntactic unit. Verb phrase is a syntactic unit composed at least syntactic unit. A syntactic unit composed. A syntactic unit composed at least one verb and its dependent. So here he is talking about at least one verb and it depends object, complement, other modifiers, but not always include the subject. Here again, always, he has added always, means sometime it may not be. In English, a verb phrase, a phrasal verb is a phrase such as turn down or ran into, which combines two or more three words from different grammatical categories, a verb and a particle and or preposition together form a single semantic unit, right? So that's again confusion, right? Then that is different question than verb phrase. Here, phrase call on, making appeal to, means appeal to. The whole sentence is saying that family companies inspire greater loyalty among the employees. That is actually, that's not clear. So here I'm winding up because similar question, number of questions are there, number of justifications are there, but it's still not clear. So sometime we have to mug up the rules, right? So that is I wanted to draw your attention. That's why I have made video on this text. Uh, that's a very contradictory. That's a phrase means a group of words. First condition, very common definition, a group of words which do not have a subject or verb. But another phrase is verb phrase. How? So that's a very big question, and this is open question. I would like to listen to you also. So my number is 9425349521, and if you send me, any one of you share me the justification, it's my privilege. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye.
यदि आपका 3 पत्ती के माप से